Hello everyone, so good to see you. The last couple of days have been wild, and we're getting so much news about the Switch 2, what's new on their apps, and its overall hardware functions, like this new bit here. Now, I may not be the most technically savvy person, but I have been learning a whole bunch with just how powerful the Switch 2 is compared to the Switch 1 and its competitors. I think a lot of us, from the professionals to the everyday person like you and I, have learned a whole bunch about this console every hour since the release of the Direct. As we know, the console supports 4K in TV mode and up to 120 FPS at 1080p in handheld. Switch 2 also supports HDR and AI upscaling that smooths out visuals during gameplay. The Switch 2 is boosted by Deep Learning Super Sampling, or DLSS for short. This helps to give a greater resolution and sharper details without sacrificing image quality. The experts at Digital Foundry discovered that Switch 2 Special Edition games are suggested to run over 5 times faster than its predecessor. However, they assessed that they could not see DLSS working in motion, so it's very possible that games just haven't enabled it yet. It's not uncommon that builds seen at events and shows like this are not running at their maximum capacity, and that's beyond just video compression. Even builds in person would not have every feature implemented. Steve and Brandon were just out in New York getting plenty of hands-on time with the Switch 2, and note that games like Donkey Kong Bonanza did have noticeable frame rate drops. With the sheer amounts of particle effects happening, it's not surprising that there would be some struggling. The developer interview for the Switch 2 that came up not long after the Direct gave us some insight into how much power is going into that game. They stated that the entire premise of the environment being destructible would never have happened if it wasn't for the Switch 2's power. It's a rather impressive display for the hardware, and it just looks amazingly fun in general. There is a lot of opportunity for games that, for example, target 30 FPS to reach a higher frame rate like 40 FPS. It does cost the developers potential graphical fidelity and battery life the harder that they push it, so there definitely needs to be a balance found between the two. Digital Foundry also assesses that while games like Metroid Prime 4 Beyond can be considered a cross-generation release, a game like Mario Kart World with its open-world approach likely could not have been accomplished on anything other than the Switch 2. Given just how massive and expansive the locations are, especially from what we saw day 1 of the Treehouse, yeah, it is very impressive and something that I cannot imagine running on the Switch 1. And speaking of Treehouse, we got some cool news during the presentation. We heard about some nice features being added to various applications. Firstly, the app Nintendo Switch Online will get its name changed to the Nintendo Switch app. A minor change, but it shows that Nintendo wants to lean into branding this as something that is more all-encompassing, rather than just online features for a few games. Zelda notes for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are going to be one of the new highlighted features of the app. We also heard about a very handy update for our in-game screenshots. We will now be able to access the last 100 screenshots and videos directly from the app. We can download them directly, post them to social media, or just share with anybody. This is so much nicer than the method we have now. Since Nintendo ditched Twitter integration, if you want to send anything from your Switch, you'd have to send it directly. It's like this archaic method of setting up a QR code so it reads your internet connection, so your phone can scan another QR code to connect to your Switch 1, and it's just so convoluted. But this sounds so much easier. The PlayStation app does something very similar, and it enables you so that your most recent media can also sync up and be easily saved. I'm so happy that Nintendo is taking this route. I noticed a significant drop in media shared online ever since integration was understandably removed. And finally, one more note for NSO users and N64 lovers like myself. Exclusively on the Switch 2, there will be a new CRT filter added, button remapping, and a rewind feature. This was notably missing as the other apps have it, but now we'll be able to turn back time on any N64 game as well. Honestly, I'm not too much of a filter person. I like a clean visual, and I feel like several games that try to implement one don't do it very well. But I do hear positive comments on certain filters for NSO, so it's very cool for those people. The button mapping is awesome. It's becoming a universal update across all of NSO with Switch 2, it seems, like with the GameCube. But is the CRT filter really only for Switch 2? Isn't it just an overlay? Maybe it's something more involved. As I said, not the most technically savvy person on the team. But anywho, thank you for listening. We have a whole bunch of videos and coverage right now, both from the Direct and hands-on from the recent private event. So please take a look, consider subscribing to GVG for more, and we'll be continuing our updates and news in the days to come. Take care everyone, till we meet again.